And push the button. All right, the next woman on our list is Esther. One of my faves. To be honest with you, I didn't really have any interest in the story of Esther until I saw it on VeggieTales.
Yes, that's the best one.
In fact, I was gonna say Queen Vishti got kicked out of her house because she didn't make her husband a sandwich. Yeah, I watched it on VeggieTales and I thought, this is great. So I watched it a few more times because the way those guys put those stories together is just. Yeah, no, here we go. Esther, with a famous line of, "For such a time as this," was from. Who was Esther? Talk to me.
The Jewish world during the exile.
Okay, which exile? Which exile? I'm sorry?
Babylon.
Well, yeah, she was an orphan who hung out probably with her more than likely uncle Mordecai. Okay. She was part of the exile from the northern tribes of Israel when they were captured by the Assyrians. Okay. She wasn't part of the Babylonian exile in Babylon. The Babylonians and the Assyrians did things a little differently. And we went over that last class that I did. Just to recap real quick. The Babylonians, what they would do is they would go in, they would take select people that they thought were of value, they would bring them back to their land, they would train them up in their ways and get them acclimated into their society, their government. They allowed them to stay together as a nation, as a people. So at the end of the exile, when you see a number of Jewish people going back to Jerusalem, those individuals still have Jewish blood, for the most part. What the Assyrians did is they took people in exile and they assimilated them into their country. However, what they did was they would take those individuals and say, you are a Jew. Like they take the women, they say, you're going to be marrying these Assyrian men. Or they took the Jewish men and say, these are your wives. And the first thing they would do is they would break down the bloodline of the individuals so that over time, that society, that nation, that culture was wiped out. And it would just be gone. So, in a nutshell, the Babylonians preserved the people, preserved the race, preserved that nation, whereas the Assyrians, without killing them, they ended up wiping out their blood. Esther was part of the northern, where she was to be incorporated into that. However, there were some still purebred Jews living in the Assyrian area where Esther was taken to. So the background of the story is... The background of the story is the king, Xerxes, or Artaxerxes, yes. King, he was having this huge, very long feast. Like, when they throw these things like 6 months long, it's a party for 6 months. Can you imagine having a party for 6 months? After what? When you get bored?
No. They don't see time like we do, though.
Well, sure,
There's
but
a period of feasting and a period of not. It just
a time to this and a time for this, Solomon said. But still, I'd imagine a party for 6 months. You gotta.
Yeah.
After you're like, okay.
Yeah, right. Me and you, Tony. And
So probably to liven things up, he asked his wife to come down and dance for the people. I'm thinking it's more than just dance before the people.
He put out 7 veils. Yes, 7 veils.
It's one, yeah. She probably wanted to do the industry that Betty and Tony are working
That's right.
with. And she refused. She says, no, sorry, buddy. And so he said, okay, you're no longer queen. See you later, bye-bye. Well then, a while later, he was remorseful and trying to get her back, and of course, she wasn't going to come back. Why would you come back to a man that's going to have you dance naked in front of all your friends? That was her thought. So, the king wanted a queen. So out went the call. All the beautiful women, come on over and we'll get you ready and you're going to meet the king. So, here is Esther. What is Esther doing?
Can I ask you what reference we're at?
Oh, Esther, Book of Esther.
What chapter is it?
Oh, I just got done looking at well, we're in chapter 2 now.
Okay.
So, what was Esther doing, do you think? Again, this is fairly early on in the captivity. That's why you had still some true-blooded people that were still Jews at the time. So what do you think she was doing? I'm sorry? Minding her own business, doing her thing, doing her chores, doing whatever. She was probably a teenager, teenage girl, doing teenage girl things. Whatever teenage girls did back then in captivity
I don't know.
days.
She was beautiful enough to bring before the king. She might have been locked in a closet.
Well, now keep in mind, Mordecai wanted to protect her. Mordecai was like, no. This is my traditionally niece. You're not just going to take her away. But the king has an edict, and he says, I'm going to see all the girls in the town. And what they did at this time was they took a section of girls. They got them all prepped, all ready to go. And then one evening at a time, each girl would go visit the king and spend the night with the king. If the king was pleased with you, then you would be called back. If the king was not interested with you, the king would then, okay, still take care of you. You were with your group of girls, and that's what you did. We talked about that a little bit last night. Talked a little about last night, but basically you're taken care of now. So the king's budget for his women was huge, because he had all these girls to take care of. Now every so often, they would probably funnel some of those out to guys that wanted to get married and say, I got a girl for you, here you go. Okay? So they sometimes didn't spend their entire rest of their days in this community of all women, but that's where they went to. So in time, Esther was chosen as queen. The king fell in love with her, and Esther's like, okay. So she's crowned the queen. Now the queen and the king, and like what you guys observed when you were in Tanzania, the king was here and the queen was there. Same kind of thing there. They don't kind of do a whole lot unless the king requests. And what they would do is, if he would request the queen to come. When the queen would show up at his door, he would have his scepter and he would point, you can come on in, come on in.
I choose you. She would linger outside the court.
And then, okay, you can come in. Okay. So, Esther's here. So Scripture doesn't say how long this process took from the time Esther was taken from her home to the time she was made queen. Okay, it's not real clear, but it's a little bit of time.
Well, they talk about the purification process. Of
Yes.
6 months, and then the 10 months, and then the 7 days.
Exactly right, but we don't know at what point, how long, you know. So, fast forward just a little bit. Esther is queen, and she's doing her queen thing now. How do you think she's what?
Sorry, my mind was back here. My mind
Oh.
was on the guy with the dog.
Yeah, probably.
All right, everybody, look at the puppy. All
Oh.
right, back to class.
My mind's on the vaping guy.
That was just, yeah, I'm like, we're on the vaping guy.
We all got
I'll be right
targets.
back.
Sorry.
I'm a vapor.
I am terrible.
We went on exile from the class, sorry.
Okay, back to life. So what was going through Esther's mind at this point in time? She's queen, she's set.
Well, Mordecai had already told her, you can save our people.
Well, the edict hadn't been presented yet.
But didn't Mordecai say somewhere that I want you to go or present yourself to the king?
Yes,
So
yes.
don't you, maybe he didn't say it, but don't you think that he had that idea in mind? Possibly?
Well, the edict hadn't been presented yet. Esther was queen first.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Then you have that story, but then you have the backstory of Haman and his hatred for the Israelites. And he wanted them gone. So in the book of Esther, you've got this side story over here of Haman wanting the annihilation of the Jews. Then you have this story here of the progression of Esther through the ranks up to queen. So you have those two, not conflicting stories, but those. Now, to make a perfect series, a perfect movie, you need a third something in there. You know what I'm saying? Esther doesn't provide us with a third except the king just doing the king thing, but that's not exciting.
The thing that I find interesting about Esther, and we started, one with the story of King Xerxes calling for Queen Vashti to come in, and it tells her story first before it starts with Esther. And I just love those classes. We get to learn to do cultural analysis and all that stuff. And it wasn't traditional for the king to set a queen aside if she disobeyed. It was tradition for him to kill her.
Yeah.
Right.
She shouldn't be alive. Vashti should have been killed according to the laws of that time. But it's interesting that the eunuchs and those that were close to King Xerxes even understood he's not going to kill this woman. There's too much in him that says, but they did want to make, to say to the women of the land, this is not okay. So they used her as an example and they set her aside. They set her out, which was interesting. They still figured out a way to use her as an example to other women. Do not disobey your husbands. But she wasn't killed. And with Esther being this young lady coming in, I can't help but wonder what her thoughts were of Vashti and Xerxes at the time. Because he was a hard king. He was a rough king to be brought before with the idea of being his wife.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine being a young girl in that land saying, oh, hi, by the way, we're going to put you up here in the running to become this man's wife. I mean, it had to have been frightening.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Frightening. But to take into account what just happened and to realize, why didn't he kill her? Why was Vashti not put to death instead of just set out of the king's presence? So I'm the person who likes to sit back and say, I love how God orchestrates things so that he can take the human mind or heart and get it rolling in the positive or turn towards what's positive to come. okay, this is a terrible man, but there is something soft inside him.
Right, and I think Esther saw that.
Yeah,
I think she did
Yeah.
because later in the story,
right,
we see her coming before him. You know, she goes, you know, because she had told Mordecai, I can't go before him unannounced. You know, but then she said, you know what? I'm going to do this. If I die, I die.
yeah.
But I think she knew that he had a soft spot.
Well, then she's been in his presence.
Yeah.
It doesn't say that, but it
Well, obviously, because tradition was you spend the night with the king,
said
and
he,
then
he came to know her more.
yeah,
So obviously she's been in his presence, so she's
Right.
seen something softer in Xerxes that others don't.
Exactly. right. So the edict goes out from Haman. Haman basically pretty much tricks the king to sign this thing.
Yeah.
Neither the king nor Haman know that Esther is from that culture.
Yeah.
Had they known, I think the story of Esther would not have been as impactful. That was my word. Thank you. And also as really wow twist. You know what I'm saying?
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. it wouldn't have been. It would have been okay. Yeah, they knew. No, the fact that was kind of weighted to the end. It's like, bam, drop the hammer. You know.
Yeah. Boy, I love the dinners.
Oh
She's a
yeah.
cunning woman. Oh, she might be quiet the rest of the chapter, but boy, that woman can pack a punch.
Yeah,
She was
exactly.
awesome. She
So
was
here
so
she
quiet
is.
and-
This edict comes out, and then all of a sudden, she's stuck because she realizes her people
Yeah.
are in danger, and so she goes to
Right.
Mordecai and says, "What am I going to do?" You know, and Mordecai's like, "You got to save us. We're toast."
Yeah.
So, what does that little bit right there say about Esther? Brave, yes. Shrewd. Cunning. Okay.
Oh, manipulative stuff.
In a good way.
Manipulate. Okay.
She knew how to work things to her favor.
Right.
She was cunning.
She was-
knew how
Yeah, that's a better word.
to
I'm sorry.
I don't want to say, people might call it pushing the line. She knew how to push the line a little bit in God's favor.
Yeah.
In the favor of man. Like you were talking about lying
Yes.
yesterday.
Yeah.
It wasn't that she was doing it for evil, she was doing it for the good.
Correct.
And it
However, at this point,
And it wasn't selfish.
she didn't have. I mean, she was trying to work through. What am I going to do? So she hadn't been faced with that. Oh, I got the idea. Now I'm going to pull it off.
Yeah.
It was the initial. What do I do? So there was a loyalty to her people. There was a loyalty to her uncle. She had that confidence in the uncle because she went to him and said, "What am I supposed to do?" Now, question, just to throw it out there, wouldn't she be recognized as queen if she went out in public?
Oh, yeah.
So how she and Mordecai talk? She didn't summon him to their chambers. She went out to he was in the courtyard.
Yeah.
So she had to go out to the courtyard.
Yeah. Well, he sat at the gates.
He sat at the gates, but he was also in the courtyard.
Yeah.
Okay. She had to go out there. So do you think she
There's
wore
a portion
her,
of it
but do you think did she pretty much go
amongst-
incognito to go talk to Mordecai? Think about it. If she's seen talking to a stranger person, somebody's going to start asking questions. Why are you talking to that? Especially Haman, because Haman had it out for Mordecai.
Yeah.
Because Mordecai was not going to bow to Haman. And Haman hated that.
Yeah.
And so if the queen is seen talking to Mordecai, Haman's going to go, "What's going on here?"
Why are you talking to her?
Right. So she probably went incognito.
Yeah.
Put the hood on, dressed up as a peasant or something,
Or as one of the servants.
or something, and just like, "Hey, okay, we have this issue. Here's what's going on."
You know what? That old statement. Okay, women know this statement because in many cases, people say use what you got, right?
Yes.
I can't help with Esther, the story of Esther saying, that statement always pops into my head when I think of Esther. Because she knew she was favored by the king. She knew that, I mean, obviously, okay, she knows she's a woman of great beauty if she's even chosen by the king.
Right.
Okay, right? So she uses, to some degree, for the benefit of others, not necessarily for selfish reasons, but for the benefit of others, she uses what she has for God's glory. And you know what I love about this story is it's easy for people to say, to reverse things and say when somebody's not of great beauty, you know, we need to really, I know people of great beauty that think they're the worst people on the planet. They don't see themselves as beautiful. They don't see themselves as comely. And this story is great in a way that there is somebody that is very, we can obviously read the story and see that she was a very beautiful woman. And God uses that and gives her strength and courage. You know, even they need strength and courage to step out and to do things
Right.
with who they are, who God's called them to be, with the place they've been put, you know, in the circle that they're in. She had to use what she had to change the verdict of for an entire nation of people.
Right. Excellent, thank you. You think Sarah used what she had?
Possibly. Well, her story, she was created to be who she was, and her story was written for a reason.
Yes.
She has to walk it out. You know, we all have to walk out the story that we are in. Walk it out, girl, walk it out.
Walk
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
True story,
Yeah.
yeah.
Walk it out.
Yeah.
So not Sarah, excuse me, it was last night.
Esther.
Esther, she has a choice to make. It's either hang on to this, keep quiet, and eventually find out as she's dying, or have people find out as she's dying. And the king can't reverse what he did. Okay, that's a common thread in both the Assyrian culture and the Babylonian culture. You can't reverse what you do, the edict you put out there. You know, same with Daniel and Lion's Den. The king was
How
tricked.
legally wouldn't he have had to have her put to death? If the verdict would have stood,
Right.
she is one of them.
Yeah.
So legally, if Haman would have found out that she was one of them,
Yep.
legally she would
She
have had to
be put to death. Exactly. And the king couldn't have done anything about it.
No, his hands would have been tied.
Yeah, because it was his seal
Yeah.
that was sitting on that edict. So, Esther, faced with this, what did she do? Okay, now going to the king, she's uninvited. She just can't walk in and go, yo baby, what's up? How's your day?
But she took a chance on it because she knew that he favored her. And when he took his little staff and, said
Right.
enter, she knew she had his favor and was okay.
Now, to build on what you just said, I think she already had it planned out. Like, okay, I'm gonna go in and talk to him, but I gotta talk to him again and again. So I need to make arrangements now with him. Can I come see you again here? Can I come see you again here? Instead of waiting for his favor again. So I think she had it all planned out.
But
Yeah.
Haman was with the king.
Get him to come to her and then get him to come again.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
And therefore she invited him to lunch too because she wanted to drop this in front of her husband, in front of him.
Well, she knew that Haman was all about himself.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Haman was like, yeah, he was all about Haman.
She knew he had things but one to get rid of her.
Well, yeah, she knew that. Exactly.
He hated her as a girl.
Right. So what I find is interesting is when the plan is exposed.
Yeah.
That's when the sun.
The plan is exposed.
Oh, yeah, I love this. That's one of my favorites. What I love is to watch the hand of God work from the beginning. You can read the story, but unless you're reading between the lines, you don't see that God put a special attraction in King Xerxes to Esther. And then that, many people use it, say it's something Esther can use, but it's something that gives her, that helps boost her confidence.
I would say a woman's
You know.
blouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and God put it there.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was a lot of amazingly beautiful women that were in that room that he could have picked from.
Oh, yeah.
But God chose Esther to be the one that he put a special favoritism in Xerxes for. We can see the hand of God moving in the entire story. Not
Even though
just
God's
for the
name isn't
ones
even
that-
mentioned in the whole book.
Yeah, the ones that knew him, but the ones that didn't know him.
Right.
Xerxes didn't know who God was.
I love chapter 7. So the king and Haman went to dine with Queen Esther, and as they were drinking wine on that second day, the king again asked Queen Esther, "What is your petition? To be given to you, what is your request? Even up to half the kingdom it will be granted." So she's probably going, "Oh, okay, here we go. I'm going to roll the dice." She wanted to do it the day before, but she's like, not yet. I'm going to set up another dinner.
Keep him wanting. What was my answer?
Yes. Then Queen Esther answered, "If I found favor with you, O king, and if it please your majesty, grant me my life." And he's probably going, "What do you mean your life?" I mean, those are some bold words for her to say. Grant me my life. This pleases my petition, and spare my people. This is my request. For I and my people have been sold for destruction and slaughter and annihilation. If we merely had been sold as a male and female slaves, it would have been kept quiet, but because no distress would justify disturbing the king. King Xerxes asked Queen Esther, "Who is he? Where is the man who has dared do such a thing?" And I love this. Esther said, "The adversary and the enemy is this vile Haman." This part here, I'm just playing this theater in my mind because this is great. Then Haman, terrified before the king and queen, the king got up in a rage and left his wine and went out to the palace garden. So the king's mad. He's like, "Oh, I've been suckered by that Haman guy." So he takes off. Haman, realizing the king had already decided his fate, stayed behind to beg Queen Esther for his life. This is cool right here. Just as the king returned from the palace garden to the banquet hall, Haman was falling on the couch where Esther was reclining.
I love that part right there. Esther
I know.
was reclining.
He was like,
She wasn't even pacing. She
she was sitting there like this.
like, I got this.
Yeah, and he's falling on the couch towards her, and the king comes in like, "What? You're gonna kill my wife and now you're gonna seduce her too?"
You can't help but wonder when Esther is talking here, explaining what the problem is, before the king asks, "Who is this person?" if Haman's already putting two and two together and starting to sweat bullets.
Well, he did. He says right here, he says, but
He's
Haman,
probably looking
realizing
at her
that the
going,
king
"Oh,
had already
God,
decided
I
his
missed
fate.
that she's one of them."
Yeah, Haman knew what his fate was.
Yeah.
The king had already decided it. And I like that. The king exclaimed, "Will he even molest the queen while she is with me in the house?" So she was a cool cat. She played that very, very well. And that takes, well, guts.
Chutzpah.
Chutzpah.
Yeah.
I like that he was hanged on the gallows that he had built for Mordecai in his home.
Exactly.
Right.
Now, what I also like was Esther's solution to the problem. Knowing that the king couldn't refute what he already said, on this day, there's going to be an annihilation of the Jews, Esther said, okay, at least allow us to defend ourselves. At least allow us to be able to defend ourselves. And the king said, okay. So basically, it was a publicly well-known, on this day, there was gonna be a big fight in town. And that's exactly what happened. That's the roots of Hanukkah, by the way. Yes, that's the roots of Hanukkah. It would be traced back to Esther. Little fun fact. Yes.
How do I spell
Hanukkah.
Hanukkah?
Hanukkah. It's not a, well, pure, yeah. Purim, but I think that's Purim, if I remember correctly. It's Purim, but Hanukkah,
Yeah, I thought Hanukkah was the Maccabees.
Yeah, and Purim has to be Esther.
could
Purim
be,
is the festival of Esther.
Purim, yeah, could be, and,
Yeah, I don't need half anymore.
okay. I'll look more into that, and I apologize if I'm getting wrong information. Okay,
The Maccabees was the oil that kept burning.
thoughts on Esther as we,
Yeah, it's pure.
okay, I apologize.
I
That's
forgot
what
to
Purim
do it
came
the
from.
other way around.
Okay,
Sorry.
I apologize.
No problem.
Final thoughts on Esther? Smart lady, says Tony, yes. She saw a situation, at first for her was hopeless, but she was able to find a way out of it and preserve her people.
Well, and she went, you know, you think about it. She had hidden all that time who she was.
Yes,
If she would have shut her mouth and stayed safe, nobody would have known the queen was of that descent, because everybody who could say anything would have been dead. And she could have saved her own skin and just sat on it. And instead, she felt for her people and stepped out.
good point.
So it's a huge thing what she did. I mean, literally, everybody could have narked on her, would have been dead. So, and nobody knew until she said it in front of,
That's true,
so,
that's true. Good point.
It's a great picture of her calling Haman out.
Okay. My portion of this teaching has come to a close. Dr. Kevin Truitt is going to come and finish, and he has 4 ladies he's looking at.
We'll try to do 4.
We'll try to do 4, and that's
We'll see
and that's
what
by
happens.
however far we go.
Yep.
So, I have to go. I have a previous engagement that I must do. Do the wedding. Thank you. I have a wedding I must perform.
thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I loved this. This was great.
This is
I wish there was.
Scott, Mark, would you share with us what your expectation is on your part of the homework there?
Oh, yes. Real simple. Yeah, the homework.
What?
Real simple. Just a paragraph on each lady. Kind of, kind of what they did in your words. Don't go to Wikipedia and just cut and paste,
Oh, come
because that's what I
on.
would do.
What did I want to do now?
Or on each.
On each one
that you talked about.
that I talked about. Okay. And
So they must be at the
yeah,
end.
just okay. Just and when I say paragraph, 2 or 3 sentences. That's it. Really, just a couple 3 sentences. Bathsheba was this person is. Easy. Eve was the first woman ever created, formed, as we talked about last. Oh,
Fashion.
okay.
Warren.
Fashion.
Fashion. When God created heavens and earth, He spoke it all into existence. Let there be light. Let there be water. Let there be land. Let there be animals. He spoke everything into existence. Mankind he formed. He didn't speak us into existence, he formed us. I shared it with the class, yes, last time, just giving this to you now. But woman is a different word. He formed man out of the clay. Okay.
That noise,
So, I like the
He
sound.
did that too.
it sounds like flatulence.
He formed man.
Well, it is the man.
He formed, but the woman, the woman he fashioned. So the woman is the most beautiful thing that the Lord God ever created. Woman
I'm
is-
not gonna disagree.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Woman is the most, yeah, woman is the most beautiful creation God had made.
I agree. I'm gonna side
So
with
you
God
can share
all the
that
way
with
on
your
this
girls
one.
when you run across them by and say, by the way, you're the most beautiful creation. Give them a little oomph. So, thank you very, very much for letting me.
Hey, you guys, is Scott good or what?
Yes.
Why don't you say Scott? Mark, is Mark good or what? Mark's good.
That means that the other person's thinking about you're talking
I
about.
was thinking about Scott because he just commented on something and I was.
He was, yeah, he sat back there last night.
Yeah, he did.
My wife loved his comment. She was like, I loved his comment about, you know, the Old Testament is not, is not a, you know, a blueprint for what we're
Right,
supposed to do.
yeah.
Did everybody get the handouts? Everybody get handouts?